Ojibwe, it's called,
Plantain.
yes, very good. Plantain in English. In Ojibwe, it's called Omakakiibag, frog leaf. Omakakiibag. Okay? Yeah, which you can totally see why, right? It kind of looks like a green frog sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
In Dakota and Lakota, it's called Wachbeblaska, which means the flat leaf. You know, I would say Ojibwe plant names are so creative and pretty, and Lakota plant names are always so practical. You know, so like the flat leaf as opposed to like frog leaf, you know. But this is just like the most amazing plant. You know, it's something that probably grows in the cracks of your driveway or in the cracks of your sidewalk. It grows right out in front of the tribal building like a little weed, you know, and that's what a lot of people call it. And I even know people in the city who spray it and kill it, which is like so crazy because this is like, you guys, if you only remember a couple plants that we talk about this week, this is one of the plants that I want you to remember for the rest of your life because it is an amazing first aid plant and you can eat it. And, you know, it's amazing for other things as well. And I'll talk about them. So first of all, one of the stories that I tell about this plant is we were having a sweat lodge ceremony and it was a women's sweat and there was this little girl coming into the sweat for the very first time. And boy, those rocks, when they took them out of the fire, they were like burning red hot. And they brought them in and that little girl's mom said, oh, she's just going to stay in for one round, you know? And so we had that round and oh my gosh, it was so hot. And they opened up the door and, you know, if you've ever been in a sweat before, they pour the water on the rocks and everything's all kind of steamy in there and you can't really see. And she told her daughter, she was like, hey, just sit still until the steam clears and then you can get out. But it was so hot. She like really desperately wanted to get out. So she just she didn't listen, climbed over everybody and she was scrambling to get out and her foot slipped. And it went right into that pit with those red hot rocks. Yeah. And she screamed. I didn't really see what happened, but she screamed and fell forward and was like screaming and like grabbed onto her foot. And so me and her mom quickly, we grabbed onto her and we pulled her out of the sweat lodge and we set her on the bench that was right outside the sweat. And within like 10 seconds, I looked at the bottom of her foot and there was this massive, like wet, throbbing blister on the bottom of her foot, like the size of a golf ball, you know? And I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking, oh, she's going to have to go to the hospital. Like this is really bad. And, you know, just without thinking about it, I started to pick the plantain that was growing around the sweat lodge because this grows everywhere, you know? I started to pick it and I just would crush up the leaves like this. And I handed some of the leaves to her mom and I said, here, chew these up, get them really wet and pulpy. And so she was chewing them up and I was tearing them up like this. And I took some of the water from the sweat bucket and put it on there. And then I lifted up her foot and I just gently put it right on top, like a paste almost. We call it a poultice. Okay. When you put plants directly onto a wound, you call it a poultice. Put that poultice right on there. And even now it's crazy. Like these plants are colder than the rest. It's very cooling. It's kind of like aloe vera gel on a sunburn. And so I put that on there and she had been like screaming and crying and she immediately went, and she was like, thank you, you know? And I felt so bad for her, but she said, thank you, because it immediately works to take the pain of a burn away. It cools it and it takes the pain almost immediately away. It's amazing. And so, you know, I told her, I was like, oh, you know, you got to sit here. You can't move. I don't want you to pop the blister. I don't want it to get infected. And, me and her mom, you know, you shouldn't really start a sweat and not finish. And she was fine. She had stopped crying. She was just talking, you know, she said, it doesn't hurt. And so we said, okay, we'll go back and finish it up. And then we'll see how it looks by the time we come out and see if we need to take you into like the emergency room. And we came out and it was like pitch black outside and she was no longer sitting on the bench, you know? And I had told her to stay sitting there because I didn't want her to pop the blister and get it infected. I look up and through the darkness, I see her run by barefoot, playing with other kids whose moms were in the sweat. And I was like, get over here, you know? And I made her sit down immediately. And I'm like picturing this popped blister that's all caked with grass and stuff and gonna get infected. And I lifted up her foot. And as I was lifting her foot up, she said, by the third round, it was all better and I wanted to play. And I was like, all better. Like, what could she possibly mean? But I looked at her foot and there was nothing there. Nothing. No sign of a blister, no sign of a burn, no redness, nothing. And that's the way plantain works. It's like a miracle plant. You know what I mean? I mean, really, I hesitate to use that word because it's so unscientific, but it really is like a miracle plant that, you know, numerous times, that was very early on. She's graduated from college now. Okay. But like, that was very early on in my experiences with plants. And, I have had hundreds of experiences like that with plantains since then. It's just so wonderful for burns. Basically what we can do, and we'll harvest this because we're going to make a lip balm out of nettles, out of plantain, because it's so moisturizing for the skin and soothing. But like, if any of you guys get mosquito bites today, if you get bug bites, if you get a spider bite, if you get a burn, all you have to do is get these leaves and crush it up and put it on there, and it'll help to take the pain and the itch away. For winter, what we'll often do is we'll gather a bunch of the leaves just like this. Okay, we'll wash them off and then we'll dry them. We'll just lay them out on paper towels on our kitchen table to dry. And then all winter long, we have these whole leaves in our drawer in the kitchen. And like if someone burns themselves, like let's say you're cooking and you burn yourself, all you have to do is take one of the dried leaves out of the bag, run it under the cold water, get it wet, and then you just lay it right on the burn. Okay, and it'll actually stick to your arm when it's wet. It'll kind of stick there, and within 30 minutes, it'll usually completely heal the burn. You can even use it for ingrown toenails and things like that. Like, it's just such an amazing healing plant. And the crazy part is you can eat it. You know, this is like, it's kind of stringy. Something we often show people. Oh, I'm never good at that. There are like strings on the, you can kind of see them actually. So they're like little strings from these veins, and those are pretty tough. They're still edible, but what I do because of that is if I want to put this into a salad, I roll it up like this and I get some scissors and I just cut it like this. And then you just have short pieces. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about plantain, also known as Omakakiibag. So whenever I talk about this plant, I always feel like I'm doing an infomercial. I'm like, but wait, there's more. Because so not only is it totally edible, not only is it amazing for burns and bug bites and things like that, but it has these seed stalks like this. Okay, so these are the seeds of the plantain. This is part of the same plant. And these seeds, I know no one likes to talk about this, but how many of you have heard of Metamucil before? You've seen the commercials with the orange powder. You ever seen that? These days, kids don't know commercials anymore, right? Because you guys all can fast forward through them, or they don't happen on Netflix. But so when I was growing up, there were always commercials for this drink called Metamucil. Okay, and it's basically an orange powder that, like, it was always old people on the commercials who needed extra fiber so that they could stay regular. Okay, meaning so that they could poop. And so, and honestly, like, some of you guys are going to have kids someday, and like, women after they give birth, oftentimes will have trouble with digestion and stuff. And so a lot of times women are given things like stool softeners or Metamucil after they give birth. After surgery, like your grandmas and grandpas, or your aunties and uncles, will a lot of times that messes with your digestion, and so you have trouble after surgery. So if you know, or kids, little babies oftentimes will get severely constipated. Okay, and so if you guys have kids who have ever had that issue, Metamucil is made from plantain seeds, literally. So if you look at the even if you look at the plantain or the Metamucil bottle, it'll actually have a picture of plantain on the front of it. And it's literally made from these seeds. So all you do is take these seeds and strip them off the stem, just like that. And you can toast these up in a cast iron pan. And they're kind of nutty and toasty. You can put them on top of a bowl of soup. You could put them in with some yogurt or some pudding. And this is all the fiber. Like right here in my hand is all the fiber a kid would need to help them, you know. You could probably use double the amount, like for an elder or something, but they taste good. Like, they don't taste bad or anything. You can even put them in with your bread dough. So, you know, Bread is actually not good for us at all. It's very constipating. I know we all love to eat it, but bread is not good for us. If we could just toast some of these up, put them in with our bread dough, we would like actually be getting tons more fiber in, you know, with our diet. So there are simple ways even to make unhealthy foods at least a little better for us. And this is one of them. So plantain seeds.